Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. I'm Lucas and welcome back to yet another video here on the channel, back on F122 for some more league racing. Today we have PSGL round 4 at Miami, which took place quite a while ago now as I'm recording, as I'm doing this voiceover. But yeah, hope you're all having an amazing day. So yeah, last time out we were at Austria in PSGL, which we managed to pick up the dub with the sort of a results recap on screen now. And yeah, today we are at Miami, which is obviously new for this year's game, albeit it's been out for quite a few months now anyway, but you know, a new addition for this year's game. And as you can see, this was our first attempt in Q1.
Possibly the worst lap I've driven in my entire life. And
yeah, we had an awful chicane section.
Oh my god, that was the worst lap I've done in my life.
Not a very good, not a very good first run. So we're P10 now, going into our second attempt in Q1. We were hoping to just use one set for this, but nonetheless, we are just gonna get on with it and yeah, try and just make sure we get through safely into the next phase of qualifying. So heading now into our lap of Miami, we have this really pretty awesome high-speed first section, where you've got this really long left-hander, where it's so easy to miss this sort of apex section as you get round to the end of it. You can still hear me complaining about the lap, what's new. So our 10th and a bit up now, which should be more than enough to keep us sort of safely through. Heading now down to the 100-metre board. Very easy to miss your braking zone into this section when the track starts to slowly wind itself down. All very technical, all traction demanding, and then you've got this horrifying chicane, which we still don't get completely right because you just have to yeet it over the curbs. And I believe, if I'm reading that correctly, we are 0.3 something up. So still yeah, up, we are more than comfortable to get ourselves through into the next part of qualifying. Braking as heavily as we can, feeding the car in, deciding to miss the apex by 3 to 5 business days worth of distance, and just rounding it down slow to the line, and yeah, that's the lap really.
What am I doing?
I was pretty annoyed after that, but yeah, I guess it was enough to get through with our second run. But now, crucially, our first attempt of Q2, if we wanted to have 2 sets of tyres for Q3, we would need to yeah, get through to Q3 in one run in Q2, which is not always the easiest thing to do. So, beginning our lap now again, coming through this high-speed section. It's very tempting to feed the car in early, but you've got to think about the corner after that, and then after that again, as we wind our way around this long left, trying not to exceed the track limits there, as track limits were being monitored, fighting the car on exit as we're pushing the limit of the rear traction as you go from front limited to rear limited through that long left-hander. Your temperatures are on fire by the end of that first section, and then you have a minute to breathe. This long winding overtaking zone that you have in the race, braking smack bang on the 100 metres, feeding the car in nicely to the apex, short shifting to 5th, back down to 4th, then short shifting back up to 5th again. This, I believe, was potentially, was this pre-patch or was this on the normal patch? I can't remember. I don't know if this was after the patch. I think it might have been actually after the patch. But yeah, anyway, nice and smooth, nice and clean through that section there. So it's been a pretty uneventful, but hopefully a clean enough lap to put us through in one single run to regain 2 sets of tyres, brand new for Q3, heading into the final corner for for the last time hopefully in Q2, missing the apex as always, because that seems to be a theme that we're coming right now.
Absolutely awful.
As you can see me mention it there, but we do a 26.2, and that was more than enough to get us through in one run, and yeah. That gives us 2 sets of tyres for Q3, but I think, as we are about to see in a moment, we didn't have a very good first run. Yeah, so actually no, our first run was, yeah, P2 or whatever it was, I think. I can't remember what the lap time was, but yeah, coming out, this is our final lap of Q3. This is the crunch time. We get a really nice turn 1, getting the power down really nicely, and we're half a tenth up already through that traction limited first couple of corners. Now it's about high commitment, feeding the car in a bit earlier this time, using the curbs to perfection on the left and the right, and then holding a nice tight line, saving that distance, but crucially getting a nice slingshot release, and that has been a very nice sector 1 as we now head down to the second part well, second half of the lap. DRS open, saving the distance on the inside, and now it's all about trying to not overdo your braking zone. Looking for the braking point, slamming on the brakes, feeding the car in nicely, carrying plenty of speed, hugging it nice and tight as it just saves the distance, using the road quite effectively through here, and then this pretty awful chicane, using a decent amount of road in the entry, but when we lose the car because of the rebound on the curb, which is just completely random because that's just the way it goes, and as you can see, anything that we were really up significantly on the Delta has now practically vanished, which is yeah, frustrating because the first half of the lap was really good, but we still have one more corner to negotiate. Braking nice and hard, not quite getting to the apex, but you don't necessarily have to, strictly speaking, but we're only about a tenth up as we come towards the line. You can hear I'm extremely frustrated at this point, and it wasn't good enough before pole position. We're only 200s away from our teammate Papa by Burmond, and it was all lost in that stupid chicane. But I mean, that's just the way it goes on these sort of sections of track on this game when you have to send it over curbs that would never be touched in real life and the way that we have to use them. So yeah, still P2, all to play for, and a good position for the race. And yeah, we have got a McLaren 1-2, which is, you know, what you love to see. Frederick Rasmussen lining up in P3 behind us, Josh in P4 and Jarno in P5. 5 red lights on your screen, lights out, away we are off. That is Discount Crofty line for you right there. Getting a really good start, but not wanting to send it way too hard because there was no real benefit to us to try and like gain P1 in this sense. We just wanted to make sure we were off and away nice and clean and think about the race long term. Tiny bit of ERS usage. You can see me weaving there as in for us to try and, you know, push on and try and, you know, get away. And yeah, this opening, these hard tyres are, I mean, when you go from low fuel soft tyres in qualifying to hard tyres, heavy fuel in the race, it is quite a severe contrast. Like, it is yeah, very interesting. You can see the slipstream as well, the effect it has going down this extremely long straight. This straight's like deceptively longer than you think because you don't actually see it in like a straight line. It is more sort of curved basically. But yeah, fighting the car a little bit as we head into this dreadful slow speed bit for the first time in this race. And yeah, just winding all the speed off and then all about getting on the power, fighting the car a little bit in some of the corner exits as we acclimatise ourselves into this race. And as you can see, we are actually on the button, we are on the ERS deployment with Barry ahead of us to try and, I guess, stretch the pack out a little bit behind us to make them push on as well. As we, oh my god, we actually made the apex, what a shock, into the last corner, or the last actual corner, sorry. And yeah,
this track is awful.
You can hear me complaining about dirt air as it affects your traction a bit. But now, skipping on to lap 9, the order is exactly as you were, as the sort of first stints go when you're on the hard start. And yeah, it's just, at this point we were sort of close enough to Barry to start considering, you know, making a potential move to try and yeah, help stretch the pace a bit more from the cars behind. So I decide to make a move and take charge of the pack this time round. And we don't make the apex again, so that's back to normal now. But yeah, up into P1 for the first time in this race. First bit of action that actually kind of happened in this race. And yeah, on to lap 10 now. And yeah, still quite a bit away from our pit window at this stage in the race. And yeah, as you can see, onto lap 12, Barry got onto the back of me this time.
A penalty.
And at this stage in the race, I wasn't actually too sure whether I had 1 or 2 warnings, which was quite, well, it only showed up 1 warning, so as far as I'm concerned, I only had 1 warning at this point in the race, but it was completely unclear because I didn't know if I'd got a double warning just due to the nature of the way it popped up. I haven't got it in this video, but that's what I remember from watching the VOD back and stuff. But yeah, on to lap 15 now. Barry opts to take the pit lap, so this is now our time to get on the button and push like crazy. So we're using a bit of battery now, trying to get that tyre advantage. Frederick Rasmussen getting a bit of boxing as well, so we need to make sure that this in-lap is a good one, because we do not want to fall back in the train to a point where we cannot fight for victory. Slamming on the brakes, getting down to the pit speed, and now I think basically what I'm doing here is to try and check how many
warning, I think.
warnings I've got. But yeah, getting the optimal turn in, and then double checking again. But yeah, it said one. It was on a different screen from that one. But yeah, as we can see now, Fabrizio, sorry, it's the fastest lap. We are now exiting the pits now, and we do briefly take the lead of the race, but obviously due to our tyres being as cold as the Arctic Ocean, we are now being overtaken, which is completely fine by and now the problem for me here is I now need to try and hang on. As you can see, I mean, we just do not have the grip at this point due to the cold tyres, so we do lose quite a bit of distance in those corners. But the problem is this man right behind us, Frederick Rasmussen, and I have to use a lot of battery, which wasn't really what I wanted to do. I wanted to, try and be smart with the battery, try and save it, but at the end of the day, track position is often proved so crucial. So I try my best to hang on, but with the tyres not quite up to temperatures, we make a small bit of a nudge, which is all good. Probably a bit more on my side it was completely on my side for the little nudge, but no harm done. But yeah, now we're settled in. The tyres are going to start coming up to temperature, so we shouldn't be losing any more positions. And yeah, that is us up into with the freshest tyres of the cars around us, but in P3. So we have a bit of work to do in this race to bring ourselves back into the forefront to fight for the win. So yeah, tyres now coming in quite nicely, and we should then get a pace advantage on the cars ahead of us. But we also need to crucially regenerate the battery at this stage. So
I didn't have enough before the stop.
Yeah, you can hear me talking about the battery and how I didn't have enough before the pit stop because of having to go and deploy it for that 1 lap extra. But no matter, lap 18 now, getting quite close to the back of Frederick Rasmussen now, and I sort of sensed an opportunity. I didn't want to let this race settle in. I didn't have a lot of battery, but I didn't want to wait for a while, so Freddie goes defensive on the inside, but we switch it up straight down the inside into turn 1, getting on the brakes nicely, and then Freddie tries to hang it around the outside but doesn't have the grip. We have a small bit of contact. That was just all good, no harm done, and that is us up into P2 with a pretty sweet move, which is crucial for our race. And at this point I was like, right, hold on, we need to keep DRS because we didn't have a lot of battery, and we were very, very close to falling out of DRS off Barry, and we were literally drifting through them. We were four-wheel drifting through that corner there as we were pretty over the limit trying to push ourselves back into that, but thankfully we were able to stay within the DRS. So that was a critical piece, a critical moment in this race. So the focus now is to try and sort of regenerate the battery back up. It's a massive snap of oversteer on the exit of that corner, but Freddie is 5/10ths back, which doesn't really last long. As you can see now, he is flying up to the back of us. He's opting to use his battery. He wants to try and get himself back past, so we cover the inside, make Freddie go for the outside, and we just brake deep as we can into this corner, as it's quite hard to hold the outside if you run it in quite deep. So
we use all of his energy.
And you can hear me asking my engineer Anton, did Freddie use all of his energy? To which the answer is yes, he used the rest of his battery. So that was Freddie's one and only chance to get back past us, and that was crucial for our race. But the problem with all of this is it means that it's going to take me a long time to bring the battery basically back up, and I can't exactly read it on the screen what the battery is, so you guys will be able to see more than me. But yeah, on lap 24 now, we get a warning. And that gave us a 3-second time penalty.
No, that can't be right. I had one warning.
And as you can hear me say, I only had one warning come up on my screen this entire race. There was no possible sort of proof at all that, I got another warning. So I only had one warning that clearly showed up. And the race director, there's 3, but only 1 showed up. So as far as I'm concerned in this race, we only got 2 warnings and 1 was a double. So very, very harshly done by there with the system in the game, but the hope was that we could get it removed, which we didn't in the end, unfortunately. Spoiler alert, we didn't get it removed, which I did find quite annoying because there wasn't any direct proof that I got another. I was like, there was no, it didn't show up the warning if there was an extra warning in there. So it felt quite hard done by, but that's just the way things go. So that's just yeah, that penalty sadly stood. you know, you've got to respect the stewards' decision, even if you completely disagree with it. That's just the way it goes in racing. But at this point in the race, as far as I was concerned, this penalty, you know, wasn't going to stand, or shouldn't have stood. So, yeah, my focus at this point was to try and, yeah, into the last lap, try and get the lead at the right moment. Now, I have two options in this race. I go for the move into the first major DRS straight, not this one, but the next one, in the middle of the lap, into the slow speed final sector. Or I do it into the last corner, where there would be no chance for retaliation. And I, yeah, have to pick and choose what I want to do. And we're really close to the back of Barry at this point. We're using our tyre advantage to good use at this point. Dirty air is quite tricky around Miami through this high speed section, but we're following really, really nicely. Keeping it nice and close. We're hugging that nice inside tight line, trying to keep a little bit of dirty air if we can, and we get a good exit. But as you're going to notice me here, I could have went for the overtake on this straight, but I turned the battery off. I didn't want to overtake here, as I wanted to do it on the next straight in anticipation that Barry would run out of his battery. And I decided to go for a half-hearted move here, just to ensure that Barry wouldn't be pulling away in this slow section. So this was my thinking at this point in the race. My hope that was Barry was going to have less battery than me, or at least similar. But unfortunately for me, Barry didn't have like low battery, as you're going to see now. So the gap is 3/10, and battery's being deployed. DRS is about to be deployed, and Barry has the battery. So I basically gave up a free chance to overtake, which is a complete tactical error on my side. Because if I'd made the move in the first straight, and the first chance when I had it, and I kept the ERS on, chances are we would have won this race, on track at least. So, yeah, that's just the way it goes. And yeah, that was completely my fault on the tactical side into the end of this race. So technically, it was P2 on the road, P5 after the crazy warning. And yeah, GG to Barry on that race. It was a good sort of tactical thought out race from him, especially towards the end. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed some more League Racing content on the channel. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, love you all, and yeah, ciao.